Hello everyone, I'm Jacob, the Community Manager with Paradox Studio Black, and today I'll be reading my own words in Dev Diary 171, Post-Release Support. My role within the studio is to strengthen communication between us and you, the players, to ensure that we understand what you want from the game, and that you understand what our intentions are for the future. While I'm just one part of the broader community team for Crusader Kings, I'm ultimately responsible for nearly every piece of public-facing communication we publish as a studio. Dev diaries, feature breakdowns, chapter premiere videos, social posts, etc. I'm also responsible for the reverse. Every piece of feedback that ends up on a designer's desk goes through me at some point in the process. Today, I'm going to talk about the release of Cons of the Steppe, and the feedback we've received from players, as well as how we're addressing it. After that, I'll give a brief overview of how our development cycles work, what the hell post-release support even is, and then we'll cap it off with a quick look at what our next steps are as a studio. Now, I am a map gamer, so fair warning, there will be graphs and charts in this dev diary. As you may or may not be aware, Cons of the Steppe and the 1.16 Chamfron update were released on April 28th, and the initial response was fairly positive from both a technical perspective and a player sentiment one. However, we quickly noticed a spike in crash reports and commentary from players confirming this. Setting our lovely QA team to work, we quickly identified two major contributors to instability in 1.16 and pushed hotfixes to tackle both of them. While these fixes have led to a significant reduction in crash rates, we're still seeing elevated levels, so we're working to identify and resolve the causes of these crashes. While there was an immediate spike in negative reviews of Cons of the Steppe due to stability issues, the response at large to the update was quite positive right out of the gate. When you spend months working on a specific project, it's always an immense relief to see that it went well and players were having fun with the new content, so everyone at the studio was elated at the response. Then the review score started dropping. With all of our releases, we do a series of internal reports on the state of things at predefined intervals. There's a Day 0 report, Day 1, Day 7, etc. While the Day 0 and Day 1 reports were initially positive, by the end of the week it became clear that there were outstanding problems that took some time to reach a breaking point for our players. So, what were those problems? In order to figure that out, we have to do some basic analysis of the reviews themselves. To begin, I took every negative review on Steam and put them into a spreadsheet where they're arranged, translated, and categorized based on what their main complaint is. This isn't the only way we analyze feedback, but reviews are fairly easy to explain, so they make ideal content for demonstrating the point in this dev diary. Once everything has been neatly categorized, a task I find immensely soothing for the record, I can generate a quick chart showing which complaints are dominating the conversation. The main cause of stability complaints in the reviews were already addressed or actively being investigated, so we can skip that category and take a look at the next one in the list, balancing. With my chart prepared, I can go directly to the design team and our game director to tell them players think the balancing is wonky and here's data to prove it. From there, we can actually go through feedback to identify specific pain points and begin to address them in our first post-release support update. More on what that term means later. Now, if you're only interested in what's next for Cons of the Steppe, then I'll summarize here and save you some time. We know that players have concerns with the DLC, and we're working to address as many of these concerns as we can within the time we have allotted for post-release support before anything else is pushed off to realm maintenance. If you want to know more about how our communication pipeline from player to developer works, and how we act on what we hear from you, then listen on. I intend to ramble for quite a bit longer. In order to properly explain how we turn comments on the internet into changelog entries, I first need to talk about how we collect and parse feedback from all of our supported platforms. Our handling of player feedback for Cons of the Steppe started quite a while back, before the announcement of Chapter 4 in fact. Our preview developer diary back in February was published so far ahead of the normal schedule, specifically so that we could gather information about player desires and expectations regarding a Nomad-focused DLC. The feedback we received from that dev diary is directly responsible for a variety of changes that made it into the release version of Cons of the Steppe, such as expanding the new nomadic government type to certain non-steppe regions via game rule. Additionally, we run a persistent closed beta program of roughly 100 people from our community. This includes members of various high-profile mod teams, historians, members of the community with a history of sending detailed and actionable feedback, and a small pile of content creators. The point of this program is to get direct player feedback on upcoming content as early into the development process of an update as we can. For Cons of the Steppe, this began roughly a year ago. As development progresses, more of the design is solidified and becomes more difficult to change in response to feedback, so this program is considered vital to us. Once the development version has progressed far enough that we're able to announce it publicly, we then begin a fresh dev diary cycle. These serve to inform the player base of what we're working on, while giving us a chance to get broader opinions and suggestions about the upcoming content. These companion videos that we release on our YouTube channel are also helpful here, since viewer retention stats can inform us which sections of a given dev diary are of particular interest to viewers. Finally, in the last month or so before releasing Cons of the Steppe, we ran a separate preview group to get a final round of feedback. This is essentially a time-limited version of our persistent beta and has a similar selection criteria for participation. During this stage, we essentially throw the floodgates open and pull in as many people as we think we can manage while maintaining some semblance of operational security. Mod team representation increases dramatically during this stage in order to give them a head start on compatibility patching their mods, and any content creator too slow to outrun our influencer relations manager is also pulled into this time-limited program. Before you ask, yes, that YouTuber you're thinking of is in this program. Yes, that one is too. Yes, them as well. The goal here is to make sure that the content we're working on matches the expectations of our players as closely as possible ahead of release. The persistent beta program allows us to do this in broader strokes while the DLC is still taking shape, and the preview program allows us to catch more issues that would have slipped through the net, as well as giving us a head start on our first post-release support update. Now, collecting all of this feedback before release is all well and good, but what do we do about feedback after something is released? After a major release, gathering immediate feedback from players is crucial to ensure that any critical issues that made it through testing phases are swiftly handled, and that our post-release support cycle is focused on addressing player pain points with the new content. We actively collect this kind of feedback from a wide variety of places: our own forums, Facebook, Steam, here on YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, QQ Guild, Bilibili, Taiba, among many others. Essentially, if it's posted on a publicly visible platform, odds are that we're going to see it one way or another. To help facilitate the collection of this amount of information, which can number in tens of thousands of messages, we have a set of community ambassadors, or CAs, who act as additional support for the bridge between our players and our development team. One of the main responsibilities of our CAs revolves around collecting player feedback and sentiment, monitoring discussions, and identifying pressing issues that players report post-release. You've said it, they've probably read it. They help us cast the net as far as possible to ensure that no significant feedback slips through the cracks. After a major release drops, they immediately begin scouring the internet for reactions, then compile them into a detailed Day 1 post-release report for the studio. They condense hundreds of discussion threads, suggestions, and reports into a more digestible format to quickly identify what the community finds most pressing. As you can see on screen, crashing was the most prevalent issue highlighted in the Day 1 report, while balance issues weren't widely reported until after the Day 1 report period. Feedback gathered this way is used to determine what the priorities of the development team should be during the post-release cycle, which finally brings us to the namesake of this dev diary, post-release support itself. Studio Black is structured into various internal teams, with each one focusing on specific updates or expansions. We have a team for Cons of the Steppe, a team for All Under Heaven, a team for Coronations, and teams for others that we can't discuss quite yet. Post-release support is the final stage of development for a major update before the team assigned to that update is dissolved and its members move to other teams within the studio. The main objective of the PRS stage is to address any outstanding issues that may have slipped through the pre-development cycle. This includes fixing bugs, tweaking gameplay balances, and implementing various improvements or alterations to systems based on player feedback. The goal is to essentially finalize the DLC, but this doesn't mean we cease work on the DLC outright. Any further updates or fixes that aren't able to be implemented during the PRS stage go towards realm maintenance to be integrated into future updates rather than having their own dedicated release. During a PRS stage, we step up our quality assurance efforts by bringing in additional specialists to assist with PRS. These specialists work closely with the development team to review bug reports and ensure that as many reported issues as possible are investigated, identified, and assigned to a member of the development team to be addressed. If you're reporting bugs on our official forums during a PRS stage, these are the people replying to and tagging your posts. Another important aspect of the PRS stage is taking care of issues that were locked out of the initial release for one reason or another. Two of the main reasons this could happen are feature freeze and localization freeze. During feature freeze, no new mechanics can be added to a DLC. Anything that needs to be tacked on after feature freeze must target a future update. Similarly, a localization freeze means that no new player-facing text can be added, as localization into all of our supported languages takes a significant amount of time. Any content that requires new or updated text after localization freeze must be scheduled for a future update. While these freezes mean that our response to feedback can sometimes be delayed, they ultimately help ensure that updates actually release when they're intended to. In most cases, the aforementioned future update will be one of the point releases during PRS. Each PRS stage typically has time allocated for 2 or 3 of these updates, with the expectation that we'll need them to tackle issues that cropped up after feature or localization freeze, or issues reported by the community. Additionally, we allocate time for hotfixes as necessary to allow for emergency updates. Post-release support is an essential part of the development cycle, in that it allows us to address player feedback as it's submitted to us, but also to set the stage for future development by giving us a stronger idea of what players expect and want from the game. So, what has the feedback we've gotten since Cons of the Steppe been about, and what do players want from the game? Mainly, we've heard that the balancing is wonky, and that our more dedicated players want the game to be harder. We've released update 1.16.1 and 1.16.2 already to tackle the former, and I've been working directly with our game director to implement something to help us address the latter. This will take the form of hard and very hard difficulty modes, releasing alongside update 1.16.2.1 sometime later this week. As we've said in the past, we want difficulty and challenge to be something that arise organically from how our mechanics interact, and we believe that giving flat buffs to the AI or penalties to the player for arbitrary reasons isn't an ideal solution. That said, our community has made it clear that we're not meeting our objective, and we feel that doing something is better than doing nothing. So while we intend to continue pursuing our goal of emergent challenge in the long term, we're introducing these new difficulties for players who want the game to be harder right now. These difficulty settings will continue to be tweaked and adjusted in the future, but for the most part, the game will still be balanced around our normal difficulty setting. We've also heard quite a few people asking for a passive herd decay mechanic. To go ahead and rip the band-aid off, we're not planning on implementing this. Put simply, this system wasn't designed with this in mind and is instead built around discrete reductions via events, men-at-arms, or having your herd stolen. Too much of the game goes off the rails when it tries to deduct what doesn't exist, and herd decay ultimately impacts AI rulers far more than it impacts players, which compounds the existing balance and difficulty concerns. With the PRS stage for Cons of the Steppe coming to an end, we simply don't have the time or resources available to rework a core aspect of the DLC to this degree. Additional adjustments to this system are still possible as part of our realm maintenance updates, but these are unlikely to fundamentally rework the system itself. Aside from that, we've heard that we still have bugs to squash. AI asking you for paisas should be significantly reduced in the next update. The Steppe region map mode should be properly colored in again, along with a variety of other bug fixes. We'll have a full changelog of what's been fixed releasing alongside the update itself later this week. After that, we'll have a period of relative stability where mod authors can update their mods and players can finish a longer campaign without worrying about another update dropping and causing them grief. We'll still be working on bugs and other issues that get reported or have already been reported, but they'll be packaged up to release alongside our next piece of content in Chapter 4. While this is far from a comprehensive overview of development cycles, post-release support, or even feedback loops, I hope this gives you a stronger understanding of how these systems work at a glance. I'm always happy to talk at length about damn near anything involving Studio Black, as anyone subjected to one of my rants on our official Discord server can attest. So if you have any specifics you'd like to know more about, then please feel free to drop a comment below and I'll answer them as best as I can. That's all we have for this week, but be sure to come back on Tuesday. We'll be talking about the design vision for a small piece of content we're working on called All Under Heaven. As always, thank you for listening, and if you'd like to stay up to date with more information and news about Crusader Kings 3, then don't forget to subscribe right here. Now, by this point of the video, about 80% of our viewers have already left, so I can say pretty much whatever I want here. Like, for example, did you know that it takes about 90 takes for one of these Dev Diary videos to be put together properly? I stumble over my words a lot, so it's really helpful to go back and re-record a piece over and over and over. And as I said in the video proper, if you post about our game online, I'm going to read about it, because I'm terminally online and cannot help myself. Not that there's anything wrong with the comments you leave on YouTube. Every one of you are beautiful and I appreciate you dearly. Especially those of you who remember to subscribe. I did mention that, right? You should subscribe. Believe it or not, it actually does help the channel a lot, which helps our visibility, which means we sell more video games, which means I get to pay my rent. Do you remember that time I said the F word in one of these videos? It caused a massive viewer retention spike, like 300% from people just going back there over and over again. It also caused a metric shitload of complaints. We will not be allowed to do that again for quite some time.